Thank you, and we are live. Hello out there in virtual world. I am Danya Craddock, your host for Doc Live TV, DocLive.tv, the Road to the Cup football series. I have another exciting show. I know it's been a minute, but we have been doing World Cup activities each and every Wednesday, whether it's doing editing or clips or getting involved with FC Dallas here in the Dallas Fort Worth area. We have been just excited about doing everything FIFA World Cup 2026, especially with the Doc Bookshop being near the epicenter. That means right where the action is going to take place. So we've got a today we got a great show, but to give the audience a little bit more about the Doc Bookshop. Doc Bookshop is one of the largest independent owned bookstore in the Dallas Fort Worth area. We sell all kinds of products here, every genre at the Doc Bookshop. And we also have an amazing sideline for personal care, home care, greeting cards, you name it. We try to carry everything here at the Doc Bookshop to make this a destination for anyone that's living in the Metroplex, the Dallas Fort Worth Metroplex, or those that are traveling from different parts of the country. We try to make this place a destination. And so we've been on this World to the Cup series just to get everybody energized. You know, regionally, soccer has not been the most popular sport, but it is growing so much in the United States, where there's a lot of international competition. We're trying to create energy amongst the residents across the nation with this series. So it's been a great and loaded series that's been going on since November 2025, and we're happy to keep it up until the match day. But I would like to let you know we have here Chris Barish. He is the author of the upcoming release graphic novel, nonfiction, Lionel Messi's World Cup Triumph, center on Lionel Messi and Argentina's dramatic 2022 FIFA World Cup victory, right? Yes. The book combines soccer history. Okay, you guys, I'm going to go interchange back and forth between soccer, football. So I think I'm talking, when I have the international conversation, I just have to make sure I say football, not to so. But here, I mean, I don't know what part of the country you're in, Chris, but I think I'm safe to say soccer without you getting upset, right?
Yeah. So I'm in New York, outside of the city, and since it's America, we usually call it soccer. So soccer is what I'm comfortable with.
Okay, then we're safe to say soccer, so we don't get ourselves twisted up here. Um, how's it going on in New York? How is soccer in New York?
Soccer is pretty huge in New York.
Really?
Yeah, it's really big. So my son is 14. He's very much into soccer. I grew up playing baseball, but we've seen, in the last decade or so, just the youth soccer explosion for so many reasons. And it's really big. There are soccer clubs all over the place. But it's a very big sport. And as far as the World Cup here, I think we also have 8 games. I know you're saying in Texas are going to be 8 games. So we have 8 games
Actually,
here.
9.
Okay, 9.
Not in the Dallas Fort Worth, but you also have Houston. So
okay.
We're going to try to outdo everybody. So
yeah,
that's what Texas does, right?
Yep. So in New York, New Jersey, I should say, because actually the games are at MetLife Stadium, which is in New Jersey, not actually New York. But so there are 8 games, and then that includes, of course, the epic World Cup final, which will be here. So it is very, very exciting. A lot of buzz going on for sure.
What about, do you have your professional teams in New York, right? Because I know we have FC Dallas here.
Yeah, we do. We have a few MLS teams in New York as well.
Mm-hmm. What are the name of those teams? I wonder if they're competing against Dallas or not.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if they're playing them.
Our local is FC Dallas, and I know they've been busy and having it successful. And with us being an epicenter, they're very much involved in the FIFA World Cup, in the planning and everything. So shout out to them if they get a chance to listen to the show. Before we tell us a little bit about Chris Barish and why he chose to write about Lionel Messi.
So the book series, it's called History's Greatest Games. And so the idea of the series, and it's for kids generally age 8 through 12, but even some high school libraries are getting it. And so the idea of the series in general is basically showcasing these epic sporting events and then kind of pulling back and using that as a portal to talk about larger historical stories. And so for this first one in the series, it was something that I talked about with my publisher. They really liked the idea because it's so international. And this game, the World Cup 2022 final with Messi against Mbappe, Argentina versus France, was such a huge game with billions
It
of
was
people.
so exciting. I think
Yeah.
that's why I became such a fan in the sport, when just to see Mbappe and Messi go back and forth.
Yes.
Just that competition.
Yeah. So exactly. So the game was so epic that we just thought this would be a really good game, and then we can pull back and tell larger stories around it. But the story with Messi in this game was there's multiple storylines, which always makes for a really compelling read. And I can get into a little bit of that now or later. But the game itself, it was just so dramatic. And it had so much riding on it for Messi personally that, and then of course the game, just the back and forth of the game was just great. So we figured that was a really good way to kick off the series. And of course, it's a graphic novel and it's illustrated. And so the action in soccer is just so beautiful. And it's like the athleticism, and just to capture all that in a graphic novel was really fun. I didn't draw it. I'm the author, but we have an outstanding illustrator. So
now, are you planning on attending any of the matches that's coming up?
I hope to. It depends on my publisher. So like the tickets, I don't know what they are in Dallas, in the Dallas area, but they're very expensive. So they're actually trying to lower the prices a little bit. But right now, unfortunately, I do not have a ticket. So, but that was something that I'm hoping to do with my son.
This is crazy, Chris, because nine out of the 9 North Texas matches, they're nearly sold out.
Yeah.
Which they're trying to do some hospitality, but man, those tickets are so expensive.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't understand it.
Yeah.
That's why I'm at a loss. Like, I don't know how people can afford, bluntly to say, how they can afford these tickets. These tickets were like, I think they were going to like for $40,000 now.
Yep. It's like I think for the finals, the tickets, the average price for the 2022 final in Qatar was $1,200, and I think the average price, which is a lot, but the average price for this final, I think it's something like 12,000, or I don't have the exact number, but it's 5 times, 10 times more what it was. And so yeah, that's been a big storyline actually, is the prices of the tickets. They're just they're pretty outrageous. And the FIFA says that it has to do with the thing they're called dynamic pricing, where basically they change the price depending on the demand. So it's not set price. So you might see the tickets at one price one day and a different price another day. They call that dynamic pricing. And it seems like a little bit off, but
Yeah, I was part of the lottery, and when you do it early, I was part of, and I think I had a ticket price that I could have gotten for $329.
Yeah.
I said, no, I should have jumped at it right then and there. But I'm like, no, I'll just wait and just get the ticket later. That seems too pricey for me. Maybe the tickets will go down. No, I was wrong. I was totally out of the box with that. I should have just got my ticket for $329 and maybe sell it or something like that. But I missed out on that opportunity. I do want to say that Dallas match kicks off on June 14th. January. Where did January come from? On June 14th, and that's the Netherlands versus Japan. The one I'm most excited about is England versus Croatia, which is going to be January, or why I keep saying January. I don't know why. June 17th. And so prior to that, I think I talked to you before before this program started, in that we were going to have a book showcase with some of the publishing companies that are going to be in the Dallas Fort Worth area. I haven't, this is informal type of mentioning, but like I'm really excited about this, Chris. And I'm even more excited about what we're doing at the bookstore. We have some large, oversized 60 by 60 windows. And so we're making those vibrant with soccer, you know, paraphernalia and everything across the windows. And I got that idea in this series. This series, like I think somebody zoomed down, one of the authors zoomed down on our store because you can see it wherever you're at. And he said, Danya, you need to do something with your windows. This is the World Cup. Like, this is huge. I know you guys don't realize how big this is. And but I do because I've been in this series. So I do realize how big this is. And so, like Chris, we're literally transforming our store, and hopefully you get a chance to come down and see it, to be just this World Cup destination type of bookstore. And so I got, like, we have a soccer net in a goal in the window with soccer balls. It's just when I get a chance, I'm gonna take pictures of it.
That's great.
And we have your books in another section for soccer, so I'm excited about that. But let's jump in a little bit about you and your inspiration to writing this book. Why do you think Messi World Cup 2022 World Cup victory resonated so deeply across generations for this nation, just across generations? It just really...
Well, so for Messi, I think something that I talk about in the book is he kind of had to overcome two epic, legendary players to cement his own legacy, because Messi was so great for so long. He won every trophy you could imagine, except he and Argentina kept coming up short in the World Cup. And so the first legend that he had to overcome was kind of just there in spirit, and that would have been Maradona. Because so he is Argentina, and there's so many fans that would never give Messi the same credit that Maradona had, because he couldn't win a World Cup. So that's always hanging over Messi for all these years, was how is he going to escape that shadow? And the only way, of course, would be to win a World Cup. And so that has been driving him his whole career. And then he finally gets to this World Cup final, and he's facing Mbappe, who, is arguably one of the top 5 players or even better in the world. So now he has to defeat him. So there's really like these two superstars. One is no longer around, but is there in spirit, and one is actually a person he's going head to head against. And the reason Messi resonates so much is because I think a lot of people followed that storyline that he's had, his own personal storyline, for so long. And also kids just love him. You'll see the jerseys everywhere. Everyone's wearing the Messi jerseys, all these kids. I think they just really relate to him. He's just very, very humble. And I think he just has a real naturalness about him. And so the generations going back to Argentina, the generations of kids today, I just think everyone seemed like everyone was rooting for him, outside of course, the fans of France and whatnot. But it really resonated with people. And then that he won, it was just like, it brought tears to his eyes. And I think people were really taken by it. And it's like, finally, you want to see the greatest players in history. You want them to achieve the pinnacle, because there's always that, if they don't, then they're always questioned. Well, can you be the greatest if you haven't won the ultimate trophy? And so he needed to win that trophy to cement his legacy.
What part of, in your graphic novel, what part of Messi's life do you focus in on? You said just the 2022. Do you go on into his history or into his environment or the community that he's come from, or where do you come from? I know you said it's the 2022, but what is the backstory that you bring into the World Cup of 2022?
Sure. So this book isn't specifically isn't really a biography of Messi himself.
Right.
It's a biography of the game, but it's like what are the things that led up to this game? And so for Messi's backstory, at least as it's covered in this book,
Right.
It's it kind of gets into just briefly his that he would be the next great one, the heir apparent to Maradona. He was born a year after Maradona won the World Cup in '86 with Argentina, and so it starts with him in his small, kind of modest middle class town in Argentina, and we quickly cover him going and joining Newell's Old Boys, which is a top like youth club in Rosario, Argentina, which is where he's from.
Mm-hmm.
So you go there, we talk a little bit about that, and he's 6 years old. He joins this team, and they're called the Machine of '87, and because that's their birth year is '87. So he's with this squad of kids, and he's just the most dominant player. And there are videos of him playing soccer at 6, 7 years old that you just would not believe. And
wow, do you have that video?
You could see it on YouTube. I have it, so it's in the book. So the drawings are in the book of a lot of the stuff he's doing in those videos. And so basically, he's doing these. He reportedly scored something like 500 goals over the course of a few years with this youth squad team, and they were invincible. They literally, from what I've read, they just didn't lose for years. And he is a part of this team, and so that's covered in the book a little bit. And then it leads to his one kind of thing that was slowing him down a little bit was he had a human growth deficiency, hormone deficiency, and so he was very small. He was always very small, and that's because he had this hormone deficiency.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was something that he needed to have constant shots for so that he could grow. And then at around age 12 or 13, the hype around him was so much. That's when a Barcelona scout came and saw him for FC Barcelona. They came and they saw him in Argentina. They'd heard about him. They gave him a quick tryout. And so that's covered very briefly. It's only about, I'd say, a third to a half of the book is about Messi himself. So then he gets signed and goes to Spain. It goes to Spain, and this is also in the book. But he signs his contract on a napkin in the restaurant, and that's kind of a classic story. And that napkin is like hanging up in. It was like sold for $1 million. The napkin is on a wall in some like very wealthy person's house because they just bought it at auction. But so it talks about him signing this contract. And then quickly we go through his ups and downs trying to get to that World Cup final and victory. And he came up short 4 or 5 times. And then when it leads into this match in 2022, the question is can he close the deal?
Mm. And we know the answer to that, right?
Yes.
he closed the deal. Now, what surprised you most doing your research on Messi and Argentina? What surprised you the most when you were doing that research?
Well, a lot of the stuff I had fun with was just some of like the ancillary things about the World Cup or just about soccer in general. How soccer is this unifying sport like no other. How it can like transcend borders and connect cultures, and so I really started doing.
I was going to say wars,
of course, and that's in the book as well. And so I like to cover in the book, what's the power of soccer and the simplicity of it too is what's so beautiful about soccer is. So like there's a chapter in the book about the Christmas truce in 1919. So I talk about a lot of other things besides just Messi and the final, but like I don't know if you're familiar with that story about in World War I, the Christmas truce. So basically they were on the Western Front, and the two sides were in their trenches, and they called a ceasefire just spontaneously. They came out of their trenches. They're all war weary, and they'd been through battle, and they laid down their weapons and they brought out soccer balls, and the Germans and the French who were fighting each other, and the Germans and the British who were fighting, they started playing soccer against each other. And so that was one example of a multitude of examples. And then as far as the World Cup, I found all sorts of really interesting little tidbits, and one I might read in a little bit if you want me to.
Yeah.
But that was really what was super surprising to me, was like, and the origins of the World Cup itself. I spent a lot of time about that in the book as well.
I mean, Uruguay of all places, I think that's when they had their first World Cup in Uruguay in 1930.
Yes.
Like, that amazed me. Like, I never, you just don't see that with all these big nations. And
yes. So
yeah, go ahead.
So Uruguay was at the time, they were the best soccer team in the world, or football team in the world. They were the Olympic champions the prior to Olympics, before 1930, and so they were the best team in the world. And then the World Cup is formed for 1930, which is in the depths of the Great Depression, and they are chosen because, one, they were the best team. Two, they were celebrating their 100-year independence, and I think that was a little bit of part of it. But then three was because they were going to help pay for a lot of things, because countries just didn't have a lot of money, and again, it was a depression, and that was a worldwide thing, and so teams needed financing and things like that to get to Uruguay. So and that's also in the sorry, I keep bringing up, that's also in the book, is that 4 different countries shared the same boat.
Right, the boat trip. Yeah.
Yes. And they were trying to save money, and they're actually practicing on the deck, and there's footage of that. And so Uruguay hosted it, and then they ended up winning against Argentina, Messi's team.
I want to say there was one country that missed the boat. I can't remember which one. Was it France? Egypt. Egypt did not make it down there. I thought that was very interesting for them to journey all the way to Uruguay.
Yes. So Egypt, they got caught up in a storm, and so it took them a while to get to where they were supposed to get to pick up this boat, and because of the storm, they missed it, and they were out before they even shot a goal, unfortunately.
And I I don't want to dig deep into the history, but I know Uruguay and Argentina, they had such a competitive spirit. And as a matter of fact, they lost a lot of their indigenous population, had moved over to Uruguay at one particular time. A lot of their African indigenous population, well, not the African indigenous, the indigenous and the enslaved Africans were moved out of either Argentina or Uruguay or whatever that may be. But that was also exciting. Well, not too exciting, because it's kind of depressing of that whole story, but how those enslaved African were important to the soccer sport in Uruguay. I want to say, I think it was Uruguay. I can't remember. But yeah, just that whole history and that whole area of South America is truly amazing. Now, I know you say Maradona, but nobody, and I know Messi's a forward, but nobody ever really brings in the Pele impact, especially with Brazil being a powerhouse and Brazil winning the most World Cups. But that never seems to come up. Why is that?
Seems to come up in what sense?
Well, nobody really talks when they talk about Messi and they talk about South America. They don't really say a lot about Pele. And Pele, to me, brought a lot of attention to the sport more so than Maradona.
Maradona was he was kind of like a flash in the pan. He had a shorter career, but Pele, I mean, I've always, from what I've known, he's the greatest ever, from what you, that's what I grew up, believing. And I think he did make a massive, massive impact. And maybe his name isn't brought up as much between those two, but that's also because those two are from the same country. And so that was like an Argentinian, storyline between those two, I believe. And I think when people rank the all-time greats, and that's not something for me to say, but like, I think Pele is usually at the top with Messi, but at the top. And Pele is also in this book a little bit. He was also part of he did a peacekeeping thing during the Nigerian war, civil war, the Biafra War. And he actually came, and for 3 days they had a ceasefire there. And Pele and his team came and they played, and it brought the two sides together. And they all came to watch Pele play. It was a pretty remarkable story.
Wow, Chris. Now, I've done a lot of research lately. I did not know that he had a significant impact.
Oh, yeah.
In the Biafra War. I don't know why I did not know that. I don't know. You know what happened? I know why I know why I didn't touch on this. Pele's book came out, and well, it came out a couple of years ago. But I was supposed to interview Brian Winters on that book. But you know what happened? This is how much international politics impact the world, the sport of soccer. Is the day we were supposed to interview about Pele from Brian Winters, who was the co-biographer for that book. We went to war in Venezuela, or not war, or had invasion of Venezuela. And that whole group that was involved in the Pele book, or that team, had to give some historical facts and accounts of what was going on in South America. So we never got around to revisiting the details of Pele's book. I'm sure that would have come up. So we do have to revisit that. And matter of fact, I'm going to take a keen look for that detail. I hate that we missed that interview, but it's going to come back up. But that's how that's how we're impacted by what's going on in the world, that it took us away from that mission of talking about the FIFA World Cup, that it's Venezuela. We had to stop and talk about Venezuela and how that impacted us internationally, and how the teams, how the world was responding to that. Because I think at that particular time, people wanted to pull out of the World Cup because of what was going on in Venezuela. So soccer, I think you touched on this before, earlier in the conversation, soccer has a huge impact on different aspects of society. So, but I know you talked about Messi and what, Messi cultural experience, but what Messi represents culturally beyond the sport itself. What does he represent beyond the sport itself?
What does Messi represent beyond the sport itself? I think he's just humble. I think there's a humbleness to him that I think really, again, resonates. And I think he does represent class. This is what at least to me, I think he's very classy in the way he handles his business. And I think he represents, obviously, success in many ways, from his soccer playing, but also, in pop culture, he's very successful.
Now, okay, great. Let's go ahead and talk about some high points within the graphic novel itself. And when I say the high points, I hopefully you can show some of his positions or his movement within as a forward. Do you share some of that within your graphic novel? And if so, can you show us at this time?
Yes. Well, if you want me to share some pictures, I can do that. So, let's see. So this would be, the book kind of, hold on one moment. So here, this is him kicking penalty kicks.
Oh, wow.
That's the whole ending of the book is the play-by-play of the final.
Mm-hmm. That is so exciting to visit at this particular time of year. Yeah. Oh, this book is so great. It's so great.
I'll show you. So this was my favorite. This was actually Mbappe. And I don't know if anyone remembers. He came in and he had a volley goal, which basically means the ball was passed to him. He came in and he shot it before it lands on the ground. He kicked that ball about 90 miles an hour or something to that effect. And it was incredibly well placed in the corner. And that was a point in the game where France tied it up 2-2. And they were behind almost the entire game. And they came back in a blink of an eye, Mbappe had 2 goals to tie it up. But there's all sorts of stuff with Messi in here. You know, obviously, I mean, so that's this is the final. But there's clips of him here. Let's see. If you want to see when he was younger, what I was talking about. This is him as a kid. He would do ball tricks. You can see on the bottom panel there that would kind of wow the spectators. And he was just remarkable. He was like Maradona again, because they were both prodigies. They're both lefties. They're both the same size, maybe 5'6" or 7. But they're very different people. Maradona was a little more hardscrabble and more rugged. You know, he came from a different background. But sorry.
No, I want you the kick. You said it was. Put a picture up of the kick again.
The kick that I showed you.
Yeah,
Which
yeah.
one? Mbappe's or
no, Messi's.
Messi's. Okay. Oh, so this is a different. Okay. Hold on. I mean, there's the whole. There are many. Let's see here. This is the one I showed you.
So he is such a skilled. Is that skilled dribbler? I'm just trying to see that.
That's him.
I think people. Go ahead.
That's a penalty kick, I think.
Yeah. Okay, that's a penalty kick. Okay, I just wanted people to be able to tap in just his balance and his agility.
Here, maybe you're thinking of this.
Oh, wait. Okay. Hold on.
This is him.
Yes. Just to his balance and his agility, and how he can keep the soccer so close to him to get that kick off. I think just as his ability and that skill is just astounding. Okay.
Yes.
So I know you said you were just going to read a little bit from the book, some high energy read.
Well, this is, so I'm not going to read the play-by-play because that's something you would, but there's an announcer, and that's kind of a through line in all of these books. There's going to be an announcer who's covering the play-by-play, and then also interviewing people from history, as you know, like a sportscaster would. But what I wanted to share was just one of the really interesting things that I uncovered that was interesting to me, and some people may have known it already, but it was about the story of the World Cup trophy. And so this is the trophy now that we always see that they play for now.
You know how they said that there's so much gold, probably about $2 million worth of gold something that's tied to the trophy.
But the story that I have in the book here, and so story is covered during an intermission in the game. So the sportscaster will take us to a story to kind of, and it's about the original trophy. And I don't know, do you know the story about the original trophy?
I can't remember the story, and I just watched it like the other day because they were just talking about it and the value of the trophy. And I just cannot remember. You're going to have to tell me. I cannot remember.
So that trophy that you saw, the one that they play for now, that you see everywhere, was not the original trophy. The original trophy was this trophy. And this trophy has a very bizarre story that I cover in the book. So I'll read this these few pages here and tell you about this trophy. So it's called The Twisted Tale of the World Cup Trophy. So from the first World Cup in 1930 up until 1970, the ultimate prize in soccer was the Jules Rimet Trophy. And he's the founder of the World Cup, Jules Rimet. It was crafted by a famous French sculptor in the image of the Greek goddess of triumph, Nike. The trophy's first curious plot twist occurred in 1938 during the onset of World War II. Italy had just won its second World Cup in a row, and for safekeeping, the trophy was being held in an Italian bank in Rome, which is here. Okay. Mm-hmm. Yet, the president of Italian soccer had a strange feeling that even under lock and key, the Jules Rimet Trophy was not well protected. According to reports, Barassi, that was the president of Italian soccer, secretly arranged for the treasured keepsake to be moved to his apartment. Sure enough, the Nazis came looking for it. They searched his home inside and out, but couldn't find it. That's because the trophy was hidden in a shoebox beneath his bed, and it was safe for the time being. So that was the first twist, is he actually had the trophy taken from a Rome bank and put into his apartment because he was feared that something was going to happen. Next, the saga of the Jules Rimet Trophy took an even stranger turn. We fast forward to the World Cup of 1966, hosted by England, and that's here. Just a few months prior to opening kickoff, the trophy was put on display in a prominent London hall for all the public to admire. But a few days later, British guards came to check on it, and their worst fears had come true. The Jules Rimet Trophy was gone. Okay?
Wow.
Who had taken it and why? The authorities didn't know. A week later, a hero recovered our Holy Grail. But the savior wasn't a human. It was a dog named Pickles. The canine was strutting down a street in London when someone began sniffing around a package covered in newspaper in somebody's front garden. The Jules Rimet Trophy had been found. So this dog here, Pickles, found the trophy in London. So it was stolen, and then this dog found it. This dog became a national hero. There's all sorts of articles and clips with this dog Pickles, because Pickles found the World Cup trophy.
Wow.
So, but that's still not for long. FIFA had created a rule that the first nation to win 3 World Cups would have the honor of keeping the Jules Rimet Trophy for good. When Brazil was victorious for a third time in 1970, FIFA was true to its word. That's when the golden statue we use today was designed and put into use. For 13 years, the Brazilians proudly showcased the original Jules Rimet Trophy behind bulletproof glass on the 3rd floor of their national soccer headquarters. However, in December 1983, catastrophe struck. Armed thieves broke into the building, tied up the night guard, and busted open the case and stole the prize trophy. Another heist.
Wow.
So stolen again, and this time in Brazil. The Brazilian government was horrified. The Jules Rimet Trophy was priceless to Brazilians. The government announced that there would be a substantial reward to anybody who could help return the trophy. So I ask you, where do you think the trophy is?
Where is that trophy? In Brazil.
The trophy has never been found.
Oh, it hasn't?
No, nobody knows.
Well, I mean, it can't really, Chris, it can't really surface because that is the trophy. I mean, you would know whoever has it is guilty by default and you can't sell it because it's world renowned. It is the FIFA World Cup trophy.
Yeah, it's
so
priceless.
Yes, I don't know who would. This is just for a personal. What can you do with it? What's the purpose of stealing? Because you can't really do anything with it.
What you can do with it, you can melt it. But they don't know. No one knows where this trophy is. It could be in an attic. It could be. No one knows. That's the whole point. So I felt like stories like that. I uncovered a lot of really interesting stories that I wanted to tell to keep kids, because again, it's a kid's book, but it's a kid's book where they can learn history and have sports be a big part of it. So it's fun. So I really I found that story to be really interesting because I never knew about that. And so when I found things that I didn't know, I like to put them in there.
Chris, you say it's a kid's story, but I'm just as enthusiastic about the story as an adult. So I think it has a crossover appeal, crossover audience, and I just cannot wait. I wish my nephew could have been on today because he has a copy, and I want to say he probably took some extra copies under, unbeknown to me, because I'm missing a copy, which is my own. So,
do you want me to give you a trivia question?
Oh, let me see. I got my trivia books.
No. Okay. This is it's right here. So throughout the book, there are trivia questions for each chapter. Try to make them a little silly, but also fascinating. So this one I'm going to give you. What memorable event occurred during a World Cup match? A, the players' shorts fell down during a penalty kick in the semifinals. B, the soccer ball popped after a winger blasted a shot on goal. C, a player's shoe flew off and scored a goal in the upper right corner. Sorry, this is the last time I'll show the book because that's probably it's these three. A is the shorts. B is the ball popped. C is the shoe.
The shoe. It's the shoe.
Shoe?
Uh-huh.
No. That's a good guess, but it's not the shoe.
So it was the shorts?
It was the shorts. So that was an Italian player, Miazza. He scored. He still scored the goals. His shorts fell down. The ball went in, and they won the. They ended up winning the World Cup. That was the semifinal game. But there's all sorts of fun stuff like that I just found interesting.
Now, what year was that?
That was in I think 38.
38. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So yeah, Italy won the next two. So Uruguay won the first World Cup. Italy won the next two.
Right.
Then,
yeah, I got my World Cup history book next to me. I'm gonna have to see if I can find that in there, that trivia in there. So I think I already know that we're going to have this book for our family day. So I appreciate everything that you put in the book, the stories, the trivia, the Messi, and just who he is, his skill level, his talent. And I think this is just going to be so attractive to a lot of young readers as well as adults. I think this is one of those books at this particular time period is going to, inspire everybody or motivate everybody to just key in on the World Cup when it comes to the United States or Canada, United States, and Mexico. In 2026, I am loving this series, and I'm loving everything that I'm learning with this series. Every book, every conversation brings new information, and this is one of those conversations like, wow, I didn't know that. I didn't know that, and I'm going to go back and do some more homework on this book. But I just want to do a rapid fire with you just to see what is the greatest Messi goal of all time?
I would say, for me, it would be this from this game.
Yeah.
Only because not greatest because it was the most spectacular in his wizardry. I haven't seen all those to know. I know he scored 2 goals in this final. Neither of them you would consider the most athletic goals of all time, but the greatest to me goal of all time is the goals that meant the most to him in his career, and it'd be the goals from this game. One was a penalty kick goal. One was he was charging the net. It was toward the end of the game where they took a 3-2 lead. So it was an extra time, which was huge. And then finally he kicked in the penalty kick in the end. He kicked a very clever penalty goal in the end. So any of those three to me would be the greatest in his career because it helped him win the one title that he needed more than any.
Okay, the Argentina 2022 or the Barcelona, you said which one is had the best atmosphere? Barcelona 2011 or Argentina 2022? It's Argentina. We hands down. It's Argentina. Yeah. I mean, that's a crazy question right there because it is. I mean, that was for me was one of the most exciting games I could think of at this particular. I do want to before I let you go, I have to ask you about the illustration of the graphic. Who did the illustration? Did you do the illustration or?
No. So it's a guy named Nate Schweitzer, and I didn't know that. Yeah. He's
commissioned
to do all three. I have 3 coming right now, and he does a lot of really great sports drawings and history, and he does all sorts of work for Sports Illustrated Kids, and he does a lot of stuff in magazines. So he's a pretty big time illustrator now, and he's kind of blowing up. And so very, very fortunate to get to work with him. And we are very simpatico when I write, and he can take what I write and really just kind of blow it out. It's really great. Very fortunate.
Oh, that's good to have that type of relationship. So Shout out to his name again was
Nate.
Nate. Nate.
Yeah.
Shout out to Nate, and maybe we'll
Mhm.
tag him when we start doing some of the replays of this
Yeah.
conversation. But what is one thing that I did not ask you that you would like to share, or you would like the fans and readers to know about Messi, about the World Cup 2022? What is there something that I may have missed?
About that particular the 2022 World Cup.
Mm-hmm.
I think
Or
that
about your graphic novel. I think we covered a lot of terrain, but something that I didn't ask you about that you want the readers, the fans, the audience, somebody to know or people to know about your graphic novel or points that you brought up in the graphic novel.
let's see. I mean, I thought what was interesting about the 2022 World Cup was, I mean, it was in Qatar, so there was a lot, there was something, it's very different. And so there are a lot of things that were kind of firsts that were happening in that World Cup. You know, one was that it was played in the winter because it's so hot there, and you know, there was the first female officials. I don't know if you knew that, in one of the matches, a few of the matches. Um, what else? Also, there was a very Iran and America played again, and they hadn't played since the 90s. And in the 90s, they had a very, very intense game, in a World Cup. And there was actually SWAT teams and all this stuff from the 90s because there was such tension even going back then. So they played again. That was a big deal. So I would say the 2022 World Cup was very interesting. It was a very different vibe than any other. And of course, there's a lot of controversy as well about when just, the government there, and there was no beer, So anyways, I don't know. There's a lot of information in the book. I didn't. It's hard for me to choose what to call out. So I've actually called out a lot of stuff, so that's good. I don't want to overdo it, but I just found the actual vibe of that World Cup different from what
The atmosphere.
the atmosphere.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, so if people want to connect with you, how do they reach you? How do they connect? They have questions, want to learn more. I can tell you right now, if they want to get the book, they can go to the Doc Bookshop homepage, and we have, if you go scroll down towards the bottom or midway, we have World Cup, and if you click on that, they're going to get connected to your book, and it's going to be a part of a box set and what have you. So that's how you can connect to the book. We have on the docbookshop.com, and we also will have more books in store, especially in the as we do Family Day and all those different events we have tied to the World Cup 2026 at the Doc Bookshop. So okay, go ahead.
Okay, so I'm on Instagram, Chris Barish Kids Books. So it's at Chris Barish Kids Books on Instagram, and then my website is chrisbarishkidsbooks.com.
And he has a young person that is playing soccer right now, as he said at the top of the call, and I have a nephew that's playing soccer as well, and I have to send you his Instagram page. It's really cool. So but yes, thank you. I have a bit of a cold, I think, in the summertime, like really weird. But thank you so much for joining this conversation, and I look forward to sharing your work, your great work, and all the different sections and all the different research that you cover in your book. And please show the cover one more time before we go.
Sure. And here's the cover.
Yeah, show the. Okay, yes, I love that cover. That is an amazing cover.
Yeah.
That cover, that book is at the Doc Bookshop. Thank you all for tuning in. And I am going to close out, if I get my little media assets, with our video of all the books that we had in this series. And that will end our live stream. So, Chris, I truly appreciate. Just hang on, and I'm going to close out with our little video that we had at the top of the call. And again, you guys go to the docbookshop.com to see all the books that were a part of this series.